Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am Adrian Atkinson. Between the pages, protecting loved ones and or properties against fires. That and more inside today's show. Stay with us. It all begins now.
The new NIDS bill has been drafted and is ready for review. We want to hear from you. Go to www.japarliament.gov.jm to download a copy of the new bill. Join the conversation. Make a written submission to Clerk to the Houses, Gordon House, 81 Duke Street, Kingston, or via email clark@japarliament.gov.jm.
We have extended the time to the 15th of February.
Join the process. Let your voice be heard.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, February 2. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, will be rolling out a quick response team in the coming weeks to respond to inter-gang activities. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson says the move is to ensure a faster response and ability to suppress flare-ups and get persons in custody. He was addressing a virtual press briefing on Monday.
They will be trained in the tactical use and are being trained in the tactical use of motorcycles and their weapons to respond quickly to gang activities and other threats to the lower part of Kingston. We're continuing that process and it's going to expand up into the northern part of Kingston and St. Andrew.
Major General Anderson says the JCF has also stepped up its policing strategy to intercept gangs as they move across the country.
Because we've seen this fluidity of operation, we have put in measures along our roadways to intercept and interrupt this and to detect. We are getting good intelligence on how people are moving and the routes they're taking.
The police commissioner says these strategies are aimed at creating an environment of greater safety as the JCF continues to focus more on public safety and public order. In the meantime, Major General Anderson is warning persons who are intent on causing harm to family members due to internal disputes that the likelihood of getting away with it is very low. The commissioner gave the warning as he condemned the fatal shooting of a woman on Sunday while she was worshipping at a church in Trelawney. He says the key suspect is now in custody.
In all of these cases, we have persons in custody. These cases have been solved. There may be one or two people we are still after, but largely you will not get away with it. Our intelligence resources are adequate to find out what has happened in these cases, and our responsiveness and our investigators have been following up very rapidly. Some of these cases are wrapped in 24 to 48 hours, some take longer.
In other news, more than 120,000 persons have benefited from interventions implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, under its Basic Needs Trust Fund program. Managing Director of JSIF, Omar Sweeney, gave the update on the program, which is now in its 9th cycle, at a JIS think tank on Monday.
Since BNTF 5 in 2003, $28.51 million has been used to invest in more than 180 projects, benefiting more than 120,000 persons.
Mr. Sweeney says the fund is used to cover 5 specific areas. They are education and human resource development, access to drainage, water and sanitation systems, health and livelihood enhancement.
Our investment in education utilizes more than 50% of the resources. We've done more than anything else, classroom spaces and on the physical infrastructure side.
The Basic Needs Trust Fund is a special account developed and hosted within the Caribbean Development Bank and borrowing member countries' BMCs. Money collected is then redistributed to BMCs in the form of grants to allow for the development of critical infrastructure and social services within the countries. Participants of the Rural Economic Development Initiative Ready2 have received COVID-19 equipment as they strive to manage the pandemic and their professional duties. The participants consist of small entrepreneurs in the tourism and agriculture sectors who are trying to recover from the economic ravages of the virus. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green handed out the medical-grade personal protective equipment packages to the beneficiaries during a recent ceremony in St. Anne.
This program underscores that the government of Jamaica is serious about providing for our rural entrepreneurs. That's what our farmers are. They are rural entrepreneurs, and we are working with them to ensure that they can maintain their production numbers, sustain their farms, and partake in climate-smart agriculture.
Meanwhile, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says he's pleased that the provision of the PPEs is part of the initiative.
It is a huge exercise that we are on here, but it is a critical exercise because it is what is going to define the Jamaica in the new norm. Because the new norm is not going to be about absolutely new things. The new norm is going to be how to live with COVID, manage COVID, overcome COVID, thrive with COVID.
Ready 2 is being implemented at a cost of $52.46 million with a special COVID-19 resilience and capacity building sub-project for agriculture and community tourism enterprises. It's funded by the World Bank and administered by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. 1,660 farmers, community tourism service providers, and RADA extension officers are listed among those directly benefiting from the program. And finally, Technology Minister Daryl Vaz has announced plans to have at least 3 Wi-Fi hotspots in each constituency across the island. Minister Vaz made the announcement during a tour of Southeast St. Anne last Thursday to assess the level of internet connectivity required for the facilities identified in the parish. He was accompanied by the Member of Parliament and technical officials from the Universal Service Fund. The facilities to receive Wi-Fi hotspots in Southeast St. Anne are the Claremont Library and Rural Retreat Community Centre, the Monigue Community Centre, and Monigue Library. Minister Vaz says the COVID-19 pandemic has brought on a more urgent need for connectivity in rural areas. The Technology Minister says he has written to Members of Parliament asking them to recommend 3 sites for Wi-Fi hotspots in their constituencies. Following this, a proposal will be submitted to the Ministry of Finance for consideration in the new financial year. And that's it for JI's News Today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has made a number of announcements as it pertains to the homeless and the global pandemic. We have those and his other engagements from the past week. Watch this.
Manchester placed under special COVID-19 restrictions, all island COVID-19 measures revised, and Prime Minister lauds new tourism venture. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. Last Monday, the government announced enhanced COVID-19 restrictions for Manchester. Between January 25 and February 8, curfew hours now begin 7 p.m. nightly and end at 5 the next morning. The public gathering limit has been lowered to 10. Public transportation will be permitted to operate between 4 a.m. and 8 p.m., with no passengers allowed between 4 and 5 a.m. and 7 and 8 p.m. The decision was made as the Ministry of Health and Wellness reported that Manchester had seen a rapid increase in cases, 125 of them just over the period January 10 to 24. The cases are spread across the parish with over 30 communities affected. The Health Ministry says Manchester accounted for 11.3% of confirmed COVID-19 cases on the island over the past 2 weeks and 5.3% of total cases to date. St. James and St. Anne, which have seen increases in recent weeks, are also being monitored.
Given the recent upward trend in new cases, the government proposes to extend the current measures, which were to expire on January 31st, 2020, to the end of February. These measures apply island-wide except for the parish of Manchester, for which the enhanced measures are applicable.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness was speaking in Parliament last Tuesday. The all-island curfew will remain at 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. until March 1. Other measures that remain in effect include the public gathering limit, stay-at-home measures for seniors, church services abiding by social distance protocols, and restrictions on small outdoor events, hospitals, nursing homes, and infirmaries. But Prime Minister Andrew Holness lifted the ban on funerals for a 1-month trial period. As of February 1, funerals will be permitted with no more than 10 family members and 5 officiating ministers. At the same time, public passenger buses are now allowed to carry a limited number of standing passengers based on the seating capacity of the bus.
As the economy moves back to full capacity, which is the intention of the government to, in a very well and carefully thought out and orchestrated way, move the economy back to full capacity, you can't do so without providing transport capacity as well.
In the meantime, the current protocols under the Controlled Re-Entry Program for both residents and visitors will remain in effect until April 15. The Prime Minister says the ban on flights from the United Kingdom has been extended until Sunday, February 28. Non-nationals who have been in the UK within the past 14 days will be denied entry. However, Jamaican nationals will be tested and placed in state quarantine for a minimum of 48 hours. Cargo flights from the UK will continue to be exempted from the travel ban. During last week's sitting of the House of Representatives, Prime Minister Andrew Holness informed that Cabinet had made provisions for certain approved sporting events to be allowed under conditions.
This is not a wide-scale return of sports. We have to first of all go through a process where we look at each sporting event and what they require and the specific public health protocols that can be put in place to ensure that they are safe.
Mr. Holness says organizers of sporting events will have to apply for approval through the Ministry of Local Government with assistance from the Ministries of Sports and Health. The 3 ministries are to explain the conditions for resumption in due course. Prime Minister Holness's cabinet is also reviewing proposals submitted by stakeholders regarding the resumption of the entertainment sector.
What I've directed to be done is that the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, the Minister of Local Government and the Minister of Health, they will be meeting about how the industry can return to some kind of functionality. So we're going to review those, and at the end of that review, we will come back to Parliament and report as to what might be possible.
While those deliberations continue, the Prime Minister is reiterating that the restriction on all entertainment and social events remains in effect. The state will be providing 250 additional beds to homeless shelters in the Kingston metropolitan area. The commitment follows the recent fatal attack on 5 homeless persons and the injuring of another in downtown Kingston.
We are now going to provide an additional 100 beds at the Marie Atkins shelter, and at the King Street location by the end of February, work should commence on another 150 beds.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the state will spare no effort in investigating the heinous and barbaric murders of the men who are among the society's most vulnerable.
The police are now pulling out all the stops to investigate the murders. They have one suspect in custody. The commissioner has told me that he is increasing the patrols in the areas where there are no homeless people to stay. The Ministry of Local Government is doing the same, and we are also increasing the facilities for our homeless. Now is the time to do all those physical changes to the plant that you couldn't do while you have guests in. Now is the time to imagine a new landscape and get it done. Because we know that we will either overcome the pandemic and put it behind us, or we will learn to live with the pandemic.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness's encouraging words to the tourism sector. He was speaking at the recent groundbreaking ceremony for the Red Stripe Experience Museum at Rick's Cafe. The $2 million collaboration will track 100 years of Red Stripe history on the island. Mr. Holness says the museum will add to the country's cultural assets and boost the tourism product.
What makes this attraction unique, and what I particularly love about it, is that it presents a fusion of the island's natural physical assets and our cultural heritage assets. This is precisely what we need to create a differentiated visitor experience that is uniquely Jamaican, that cannot be replicated by others in the globally competitive travel and tourism industry.
The Prime Minister also expressed optimism that the local economy would bounce back and urged local and foreign investors to make their move during this time.
Some commentators suggest that the rebound in travel and tourism post-pandemic will be much greater than is generally predicted as a result of huge pent-up demand. When the lockdowns are ended, people are going to want to just travel like crazy, and we want to be ready for them when they return to travel.
And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
My job is to ensure that every man, woman and child maintain good health at all times.
Our primary function is to ensure that government services are delivered effectively and efficiently.
We are building forward
together.
Fire safety within the home is more critical than ever as more individuals work and study from their living spaces. So, we have fire safety tips from the experts to ensure you and yours keep safe.
When you have more persons at home, we tend to get more fires. During this global pandemic, we have to remember the children are at home. It is extremely important to never leave them unattended. Make sure that anything that is flammable is kept away from them. A lot more cooking is taking place because a lot more work from home is taking place. That has now become the norm. So be sure that you never leave your cooking unattended for any prolonged period. And when we say prolonged period, all of us will be mindful of whatever it is that we're cooking and the time it takes for boil over to take place. Boil over can actually start a fire. When boil over occurs, it is depleting the water which is in the pot. A part of what the water does is that it maintains temperature, and it absorbs the heat that is coming up from the direct flames. So when the water continues to dry out, you're going to get to a point where all the water is gone. Then whatever it is in the pot, if it continues, those things can become what we call embers. So they'll now be set ablaze in the pot. If it's a situation where you're frying, then the temperatures will continue to rise. And we've seen situations of flambe which is in a controlled setting. However, if it's not in a controlled setting, what you're going to have is that the fire will start right there on the stove. If you're cooking please ensure that as much as is possible, you're tending to what it is that you're cooking. And I must point out very quickly, if you get home and you feel tired, don't tell yourself that you're going to be putting this on and take a nap. Take a nap first and then go and cook. During this time when we're working from home, use the opportunity to get rid of all useless combustible material. We would have seen a ban on bags, plastic, single-use plastic bags. Remember, the term regulator means to regulate. The contents of your gas cylinder are under pressure. The regulator ensures that that pressure is taken down to a manageable level, and then the gas is fed to your appliance, in this case your stove. So if the regulator is malfunctioning, it can cause leaks. And once there's a leak and you have open flame, that is a recipe for disaster. We must also point out that we've seen instances in households where persons tend to have the stove below a window, and for some reason they have some nice decorative curtains. Of course, we do not recommend that. I want to use this opportunity to make a general appeal to all Jamaicans. First of all, you do not use sanitizers in your kitchens where there's open flame. A lot more devices are now requiring a lot more energy, so a lot more charging is taking place. A lot more devices might be plugged into plugs that would not have been accommodating this much load. Never ever overload electrical circuits or the sockets. We have to be mindful of the fact that overloading will cause a fire. One of the sure ways to start a fire is by going with the extension cords, those little brown and white extension cords. Those extension cords are not meant to carry any amount of load. It is best if you get a surge protector for all your appliances. The surge protector will, as the name suggests, take a surge in electricity and it will break the circuit to ensure that you are not starting a fire. So it is extremely important to ensure that you're purchasing the right tools for the job at hand. Once they are not in use, plug them out. And it saves on energy as well, because these devices take energy to keep them going, and for the energy to actually get to them, it must pass through the cords that you're using. And I want to point out for you very quickly as well, never ever use extension cords on appliances that have very short cords. There's a reason the manufacturer make your blender with a very short cord. It's because they want them plugged directly into the socket and not into an extension cord, because they pull a lot of energy very, very quickly, and the extension cords might not be able to supply that amount of energy. And one of the ways to know if your extension cord is under pressure is by feeling the temperature of it. So you can use the back of your hand. If the extension cord is warm, it is sending a message to you. One of the last things I want to leave you with, as an organization, the Jamaica Fire Brigade is open and available at all times. If it is that you have any kind of questions, feel free to call us. Feel free to go into any one of our fire stations, ask for information, ask for safety tips, and we will accommodate you. And remember, in the event of a fire, the numbers to call is your nearest fire station, or 110 or 112.
The Ministry of Tourism is pushing the shopping sector in the quest to diversify destination Jamaica. Let's see how local fashion designers are wooing tourists.
We know that Jamaican men and women are very fashionable, and our designers exceptional in their creation to match the varied tastes of our men and women. Here we are with the third staging of Style Jamaica, which was organized to leverage this market trend by developing authentic and unique shopping experiences that add value to Destination Jamaica's touristic offerings. The objective of Style Jamaica are in keeping with the broader objectives of our tourism industry, as it seeks to promote Jamaica as a premium shopping destination, promote the highlight local designers to the tourism market, and to diversify the on-island shopping experience. The UNWTO has acknowledged that shopping is an increasingly relevant component of the tourism value chain and has been converted into a determining factor affecting destination choice, an important component of the overall travel experience, and in some cases, the prime travel motivation. So it was with the knowledge that this pastime is one of the most important activities for tourists, and in fact is an important factor in the choice of destinations for many, that shopping was identified as one of the must-haves in the tourism linkage network. We have the hardworking teams at the TEF and the Tourism Linkage Network, the Jamaica Tourist Board, the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation, and our host, of course, Main Street Jamaica, to thank for staging this very exciting event. At a time when spirits are a bit low and hearts heavy over the impact of the corona pandemic, this event offers a breath of fresh air to lift the spirit and rekindle hope.
The professionally curated Style Jamaica fashion show, which showcases ready-to-wear pieces by Jamaican designers.
COVID-19 may have slowed us down, but it has also allowed us to recharge our batteries, allowing us to put measures in place that strengthen our resilience. That sums up its impact on tourism, and we are coming back stronger and better.
You've reached the final page of the magazine. Thanks so much for staying with us. Another Jamaica Magazine unfolds tomorrow, so come back same time on this same station. Until then, click on our website and YouTube channel for more informative features. While there, please subscribe to our pages and click that notification bell so you can stay in the know. And don't forget to reach out to us on social media. I'm Adrian Atkinson, encouraging you to think positive as you stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.